The soft hum of New Terra Station filled the air as hundreds of different species went about their daily business. Lily Reed pressed her small nose against the massive viewing window, watching colorful ships drift between the docking bays like glowing fish in a dark ocean. Her father had told her to stay close, but the 8-year-old girl couldn't help wandering toward the observation deck when she spotted the most beautiful starship she had ever seen. Alex Reed finished loading the last of his cargo containers onto his transport vessel. The supply run had gone smoother than expected, and he was already thinking about their next destination when he turned to check on his daughter. The spot where Lily had been standing just moments ago was empty. His heart skipped a beat as he scanned the crowded marketplace, but she was nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, Lily had made her way to the upper level of the station where fewer beings walked the corridors. She loved watching the ships come and go, imagining all the wonderful places they had visited. Her brown eyes sparkled with wonder as a particularly large vessel approached the docking bay. Its hull scarred from countless journeys through space, Grimmick the Saurian had been tracking Alex Reed for 3 standard months, the human smuggler. Had a price on his head from the Outer Rim Consortium, and Grimmick needed the credits badly. His own ship was falling apart, his weapons needed repairs, and his reputation as a bounty hunter was suffering after several failed captures. When he spotted the small human child wandering alone near the observation windows, an idea formed in his reptilian mind. The massive alien stood nearly 9 feet tall, his scaled hide a mottled green and brown that helped him blend into shadows. Sharp claws extended from his fingertips, and rows of deadly teeth filled his elongated snout. Most beings gave Grimmick a wide berth when they saw him coming, but this tiny human seemed completely unaware of the danger approaching her, Lily noticed. The large alien's reflection in the viewing window before she turned around. Instead of screaming or running like most creatures would, she looked up at Grimmick with curious eyes and smiled. The innocent expression caught the bounty hunter off guard, and for a moment he hesitated. "Hello," Lily said in her sweet voice. "Are you here to watch the ships too? That big one there looks like it could travel to 100 different worlds." Grimmick had expected fear, tears, maybe even an attempt to flee. He had not expected friendly conversation from his intended hostage. Something twisted uncomfortably in his chest as he looked down at the small being who barely reached his knee. Her trust was complete and absolute, as if the thought that he might harm her had never crossed her mind. "Little human," Grimmick said in his deep, gravelly voice, "you should not be here alone. Where is your guardian?" "My dad is loading cargo," Lily replied, pointing toward the lower levels. "He says I ask too many questions, but I just want to learn about everything." "Do you travel on one of those ships? What's your favorite planet? Have you ever seen a real nebula up close?" The questions came rapidly, each one delivered with genuine excitement and interest. Grimmick found himself staring at this strange little creature who showed no fear of his fearsome appearance. In all his years as a hunter and warrior, no being had ever looked at him with such open curiosity instead of terror, but Grimmick needed those credits, and Alex Reed would pay anything to get his offspring back safely. The bounty hunter made his decision and carefully wrapped one massive clawed hand around Lily's tiny waist, lifting her as gently as he could manage. She was so light that he barely felt her weight. "We are going for a ride," Grimmick told her. Expecting the screaming to start at any moment, instead, Lily looked around with interest as he carried her toward his ship. "Really? Where are we going? Is this like an adventure?" "My dad takes me on adventures sometimes, but he always tells me first, should we let him know where we're going so he doesn't worry?" The complete lack of fear in her voice made Grimmick's steps falter. Children of his own species would be shrieking in terror by now, but this human child seemed to think she was being taken on some kind of pleasant journey. The uncomfortable feeling in his chest grew stronger. "Your father will know soon enough," Grimmick managed to say as they reached his docking bay. His ship was old and battered, held together by emergency repairs and stubborn determination. The hull showed blast marks from various conflicts, and the engines made concerning noises even when idling. Grimmick had called it home for more years than he cared to remember, but seeing it through Lily's eyes made him notice how grim and unwelcoming it appeared. "Wow," Lily said as they entered the ship. This looks like a real explorer's vessel. I bet you've had so many exciting adventures. Are those battle scars on the walls? Did you fight space pirates? My dad says space pirates aren't as romantic as the stories make them sound, but they're still pretty interesting. Grimmick set her down in the main cabin and activated the ship's security systems. He had expected to need restraints or a holding cell, but Lily simply sat down on one of his chairs and continued looking around with bright, interested eyes. She swung her legs back and forth since they didn't reach the floor, humming a little tune to herself. "Are you going to hurt me?" she asked suddenly, her head tilted to one side. The question hit Grimmick like a physical blow. The innocent way she asked it, without accusation or even real concern, just seeking information, made something crack inside his hardened heart. He had hurt many beings over the years, killed some, destroyed lives without much thought. But looking at this trusting child who had shown him nothing but kindness and curiosity, he felt ashamed for the first time in decades. "No, little one." He heard himself saying, "I will not hurt you." Lily smiled brightly. "Good, I didn't think you would. You seem sad, though. Are you lonely out here by yourself?" "My dad says traveling alone can make people sad sometimes. I could keep you company. If you want, I know lots of stories." Grimmack's clawed fingers trembled slightly as he activated the communication system on his ship. 3 hours had passed since he had taken the human child, and he still couldn't quite believe how calmly she had accepted her situation. Lily sat nearby, having found his emergency food supplies, and was happily sharing her own snack bars with him, explaining the difference between chocolate and vanilla flavoring as if they were old friends. The transmission crackled to life, and Alex Reed's face appeared on the screen. The human's expression was controlled, but Grimmack could see the dangerous fire burning behind his eyes. Even through the static of the communication link, the Saurian could sense something that made his instincts scream warnings. "You have something that belongs to me," Alex said, his voice deadly quiet. "I have your offspring," Grimmack confirmed, trying to project the confidence he had felt hours ago. "She is unharmed, but that will change if you do not surrender yourself to me. There is a bounty on your head, Reed. Come alone to Docking Bay 7, and I will return your young one safely." Alex was silent for several long moments, and Grimmack began to think the transmission had failed. Then the human spoke again, and there was something different in his tone, something that made the bounty hunter's scales prickle with unease. "You took my daughter," Alex said simply. "My child. Do you understand what that means?" Before Grimmack could respond, the channel closed. The Saurian stared at the blank screen, confusion replacing his earlier confidence. He had expected threats, demands, maybe even pleading. He had not expected that strange, quiet certainty in the human's voice, as if Alex Red knew something Grimmack did not. "Was that my dad?" Lily asked, looking up from where she had been examining Grimmack's navigation equipment with careful curiosity. "He sounded different. Is he angry?" "He doesn't usually get angry, but when he does, it's really scary. Not scary bad, just scary powerful, like when lightning fills up the whole sky." Grimmack was about to dismiss the child's observation when his communication system began chiming with incoming messages. The first was from his contact on Kepler Station, a fellow Saurian who usually provided him with bounty information. "Grimmack, you fool," the message began. "Release the human child immediately. You don't know what you've done. Humans aren't like other species. When you threaten their young, they become something else entirely. Every human within 5 systems will come for you." More messages followed, each one more urgent than the last. His weapons supplier, his fuel contact, even the corrupt station officials who usually looked the other way when he conducted business, all were telling him the same thing. "Let the child go. Apologize. Run." "I don't understand," Grimmack muttered, deleting message after message. "She's just one small human. Why does everyone act as if I have declared war on their entire species?" Lily looked up from the star charts. She had been studying. "Because you kind of have," she said matter-of-factly. "Humans are really good at loving people. When someone hurts a human child, all the other humans feel like their own child got hurt. My dad explained it to me once. He called it pack bonding, like how wolves protect all the puppies in their pack, not just their own. The simple explanation from an 8-year-old child made more sense than all the panicked warnings Grimmick had received. He began monitoring the station's communication channels and felt his blood run cold. Ships were changing course, converging on New Terra Station from every direction. Not just a few vessels, but dozens, then hundreds. "This is cargo hauler Delta 7 requesting emergency docking," came one transmission. "We heard about the situation. Any human who needs transport to New Terra gets it free." "Mining vessel Prospector's Hope here," said another. "We're 3 days out but pushing engines to maximum. Is the child safe?" "Military Transport Valkyrie requesting priority approach vector. We have 40 Marines aboard ready to assist." The messages kept coming, each one representing another ship full of humans dropping whatever they were doing to race toward the station. Grimmick watched his tactical display fill with incoming vessels and realized he had made a terrible mistake. This wasn't just about one angry father anymore. "They're all coming because of me?" he asked Lily, his voice hoarse with growing fear. "Well, because of what you did to me," Lily corrected gently. "But they're not all coming to hurt you. Humans don't like hurting people unless they have to. They're coming to make sure I'm safe and to help my dad. If you let me go and say you're sorry, most of them will probably just want to make sure you're okay too." Grimmick stared at the child who was casually offering him forgiveness while eating another snack bar. Her complete lack of malice or desire for revenge was unlike anything in his experience. In Saurian culture, being captured meant shame and often death. Captors expected hatred from their prisoners, not concern for their well-being. "You are not angry with me?" he asked. "A little bit," Lily admitted. "You scared my dad, and you should have asked before taking me on your ship. But you've been nice to me, and you seem really sad about something. My teacher says that people who do mean things are usually hurting inside and don't know how to ask for help." The communication system chimed again, this time with a priority override signal. The face that appeared on screen belonged to Admiral Chun of Earth Command, one of the most decorated military officers in human space. Grimmick had heard stories about the man's tactical brilliance during the Void Wars. "This is Admiral Chun to the vessel holding Lily Reed," the human said. "You now have the attention of every human military unit within 10 systems. We have 3 battle fleets adjusting course to your position. This can end peacefully, but that choice is entirely yours." The transmission ended, leaving Grimmick staring at the blank screen. Around him, his ship's sensors registered more and more vessels approaching the station. The space around New Terra was becoming crowded with ships, of every size and description, all carrying humans who had dropped everything to respond to a child's kidnapping. "They really love you," Grimmick said quietly, watching another wave of ships appear on his display. "They love all human children," Lily explained. "That's what makes us human. We take care of each other, even the ones we've never met." She paused in her eating and looked at him with those impossibly innocent eyes. "Do Saurians have children?" "Yes," Grimmick said. "But we do not He stopped, unable to finish the sentence. Saurian young were expected to be strong and independent. Weakness was not tolerated. Love was considered a liability that made warriors soft. "Do you miss your family?" Lily asked gently. Grimmack's throat tightened. He had not thought about his own offspring in years, had not allowed himself to remember. The younglings he had abandoned when he chose the life of a bounty hunter. Looking at this human child who radiated love and trust, he realized what he had lost, what his entire species had perhaps lost in their pursuit of strength through isolation. The space around New Terra Station transformed into something that would be remembered in galactic history books for generations. What had started as a routine day at a busy trade hub became the largest spontaneous gathering of human vessels ever recorded. Ships continued to arrive every few minutes, their crews united by a single purpose that transcended politics, economics, and personal differences. Alex Reed stood in the command center of his hastily assembled fleet, looking out at a sight that would have terrified any enemy of humanity. Cargo haulers flew alongside military destroyers. Luxury yachts shared space with mining vessels. Even pirates who normally avoided human space had come, their usual predatory instincts replaced by something deeper and more primitive. "Sir, we now have over 800 vessels in the area," reported his temporary communications officer, a young woman who had volunteered from a passing passenger liner. "More are arriving every hour. The station's traffic control has given up trying to manage approach vectors." Alex nodded, his attention focused on the tactical display showing Grimac's ship. For 6 hours now, the Saurian had remained docked, making no attempt to flee. Alex wondered if the bounty hunter was beginning to understand the magnitude of what he had triggered on nearby Centauri Prime. The planetary government had declared a state of emergency after half their spaceport emptied. Within hours, human citizens from every walk of life had commandeered whatever ships they could find, driven by an instinct older than civilization itself. The protection of children was not just a law or social contract among humans. It was written into their very DNA. Ambassador Krell of the Galactic Council watched the situation unfold from his observation ship, his 4 eyes wide with amazement and growing concern. In his 3 centuries of diplomatic service, he had never seen anything like this. Entire human colonies were emptying their defense fleets. Commercial shipping had ground to a halt as crews abandoned their routes. The human economy was suffering. Massive disruption, and yet more ships kept coming. "Send another message to the Saurian vessel," Krell ordered his aide. "Tell them that the Council is prepared to offer full diplomatic immunity if they release the child immediately. Emphasize that this situation is unprecedented and growing beyond anyone's ability to control." But Grimac was no longer listening to outside communications. His attention was completely focused on the small human sitting across from him, who had spent the last hour telling him stories about her life. She spoke of birthday parties where children received gifts just for existing, of schools where adults spent their days teaching young ones without expecting payment, of communities that celebrated when children achieved small accomplishments. "My friend Sam broke his leg last month," Lily was saying, her legs still swinging from the chair that was too big for her. "The whole neighborhood brought food to his family every day until he got better. And when he was sad about missing soccer season, the older kids came to his house to play board games with him. That's just what you do when someone needs help." Each story was another small crack in Grimac's understanding of the universe. In Saurian society, a broken leg meant weakness. Help was earned through strength or purchased with favors. Children were expected to endure hardship alone to build character. But these humans seemed to view caring for their young as not just a duty, but as a source of joy. "Do all human communities function this way?" Grimac asked, genuinely curious despite his growing fear about the fleet surrounding them. "Pretty much," Lily said. "There are some mean humans, just like there are probably some mean Saurians. But most people are good if you give them a chance. My dad says that everyone has something broken inside them, and being kind to each other is how we fix the broken parts." Grimac's communication system activated automatically as another priority message came through. This time it was from the Saurian High Command, the governing body of his own species. The stern face of Supreme Marshal Voss appeared on screen, his scales bearing the ritual scars of countless battles. "Hunter Grimac," the Marshal said, using the formal address reserved for the most serious situations. "You will release the human child immediately and surrender yourself for judgment. Your actions have brought shame upon our entire species. The humans have made it clear that they consider this an act of war against all their kind." The transmission included tactical data that made Grimac's heart skip a beat. The human fleet now surrounding New Terra Station was larger than the combined naval forces of 12 sector governments. These were not just random civilians in small ships either. Hidden among the cargo haulers and passenger vessels were some of the most dangerous humans in the galaxy. Veterans of the Void Wars who had turned entire enemy fleets into scrap metal. Elite Special Forces operators who could infiltrate and destroy military installations single-handedly. Pilots whose skills were legendary throughout known space. They didn't come here to negotiate, Grimac realized aloud. They came here too. And any threat to their young permanently. Well, yeah, Lily said as if this should have been obvious. That's what parents do. But they're also hoping you'll make the right choice so nobody has to get hurt. Humans really don't like fighting unless they have to. As if to prove her point, Alex Reed's voice came over the communication system again. This time, however, his tone was different, less threatening, more tired. Grimmuck, this is Alex Reed. I want you to understand something. Every human out there wants the same thing I do. We want our children safe, all of our children, everywhere. What you've done today has reminded every human in the galaxy why we fight, why we explore, why we build communities across the stars. Alex paused, and when he continued, there was something like sadness in his voice, but we also understand desperation. We know what it's like to make choices we regret because we see no other option. If you release my daughter unharmed, we can talk. Human to sentient being. Maybe we can find a solution that doesn't end with violence. Grimmuck found himself looking at Lily, who was nodding encouragingly as if Alex's words made perfect sense to her. The child's complete faith in her father's ability to find peaceful solutions was remarkable, especially given the overwhelming show of force gathered outside. Your father is offering me mercy, Grimmuck said, even after what I have done. But that's what good people do, Lily replied simply. They try to help others be good too. My dad always says that punishing people doesn't fix anything unless it helps them learn to make better choices. For the first time in his adult life, Grimmuck felt the weight of his actions not just as tactical mistakes, but as moral failures. Every bounty he had collected, every being he had hurt, every family he had separated for money. It all seemed different when viewed through the eyes of this innocent child who believed in the fundamental goodness of others. The massive Saurian warrior, feared throughout the Outer Rim for his ruthless efficiency, sat in his battered ship surrounded by the largest human fleet in recorded history and began to cry. Tears were not common among Saurians. Their physiology produced the salty drops only under extreme emotional distress, and their culture viewed such displays as weakness worthy of exile. But as Grimmuck sat in his ship watching the greatest military force in galactic history gather because of his actions, he found himself weeping like a lost child. Lily noticed immediately, as children always do. Without hesitation, she climbed down from her chair and walked over to the massive alien who could have killed her with a single swipe of his claws. Instead of showing fear or disgust at his tears, she gently patted his scaled arm with her tiny hand. It's okay to be sad, she said in her soft voice. Sometimes crying helps wash away the hurt feelings so we can think better. My dad cries sometimes too, especially when he looks at pictures of my mom. She died when I was really little, but Dad says she would be proud of how I try to help people feel better. The simple kindness from someone he had wronged broke something fundamental inside Grimmuck's hardened heart. Here was a child offering comfort to her captor, showing more emotional maturity than most adults of his species had ever displayed. The contrast between her gentle nature and his own violent past became too much to bear. I am sorry, he whispered, the words barely audible through his tears. I am so very sorry, little one. Lily continued, patting his arm. I know you are, and I forgive you. But I think you need to tell my dad too. He's probably really scared right now, and scared parents don't always make the best decisions. Grimmuck looked at his communication console, knowing that hundreds of thousands of humans were waiting for his next move. The tactical display showed even more ships arriving, their combined firepower enough to crack planets. Yet this child was concerned about her father's emotional state rather than the danger she was in. With trembling claws, Grimmuck activated the main communication channel that would broadcast to the entire human fleet. Alex Reed's face appeared immediately as if he had been waiting beside his own console. The human's expression was controlled, but Grimmuck could see the worry and barely contained rage burning behind his eyes. I want to apologize, Grimmuck said before Alex could speak. I took your daughter, your precious child, and I cannot undo this terrible thing I have done. She has shown me kindness I do not deserve. She has taught me things about honor that I had forgotten in my years of violence and greed. Alex remained silent, but Grimmick could see other faces appearing on secondary channels throughout the fleet. Hundreds of humans were listening to every word, their expressions ranging from anger to curiosity to something that might have been hope. "I do not ask for mercy for myself," Grimmick continued, his voice growing stronger. "I have lived a life of causing pain to others. I have separated families for money. I have brought suffering to innocent beings. But I beg you to know that your daughter is unharmed. More than that, she has been teaching me about compassion, about what it means to protect rather than prey upon others." Lily leaned closer to the communication pickup. "Tell him I'm okay, Dad, and tell him that Grimmick isn't really bad. He's just been really lonely and sad for a long time. I think he forgot what it felt like to have friends." Tears started flowing again as Grimmick repeated her words exactly. "She says to tell you that I am not really bad, just lonely and sad. She thinks I forgot what it felt like to have friends." His voice broke on the last word. "In all my years as a hunter and warrior, no being has ever called me friend. Your daughter offered me food from her own supply. She shared stories with me. She comforted me when I wept. I do not understand how someone so small can possess such enormous strength of spirit." The communication channel buzzed with activity as humans throughout the fleet began talking among themselves. Grimmick could hear fragments of conversations, voices discussing mercy and justice and the possibility of redemption. Some called for his immediate execution, but others urged patience and understanding. Alex Reed finally spoke. "You say my daughter has been teaching you. What exactly has she taught you?" "That love is not weakness," Grimmick replied immediately. "That caring for others does not make one vulnerable, but rather creates a strength that cannot be defeated by weapons or fear. Your species bonds with each other in ways mine never could. You will cross the galaxy to protect a single child, not because you must, but because you cannot bear to do otherwise." Lily climbed back onto her chair and looked directly into the communication pickup. "Dad, I think Grimmick wants to be a better person but doesn't know how. Remember when I was mean to Jimmy at school because I was sad about Mom? You helped me figure out how to apologize and be nicer. Maybe Grimmick just needs help learning how to be good." Alex's expression softened slightly as he looked at his daughter. "Are you safe, sweetheart? Has he hurt you in any way?" "I'm fine. Dad, really? Grimmick has been taking good care of me. He even let me play with his navigation computer, and it has maps of places I've never heard of. He's got some really cool stories about different planets, but most of them are kind of sad. I think he's been alone for too long." Grimmick watched the interaction between father and daughter with something approaching wonder. Even in this situation, with Alex having every reason to demand immediate vengeance, the human was listening to his child's assessment with genuine consideration. The trust between them was absolute, built on years of love and respect that Grimmick had never experienced with his own offspring. "Your daughter sees something in me that I cannot see in myself," Grimmick said quietly. "She believes I can be redeemed. I do not know if this is possible, but I find myself wanting to try. Not for the bounty, not for credits or reputation, but because she asked me to be better." Admiral Chun's voice cut into the conversation from the military command channel. "Reed, we have confirmation from multiple sources that this is unprecedented behavior from known Saurian bounty hunters. Our xenopsychology team believes the subject may be experiencing genuine emotional transformation." "I don't care what your experts think," Alex replied sharply. "I care what my daughter thinks. And right now, she's asking me to give someone a second chance." He looked directly at Grimmick through the screen. "But understand this. If you ever threaten another child, human or otherwise, there will be no mercy, no second chances. No place in the galaxy you can hide. I understand," Grimmick said. "And I accept whatever judgment you deem appropriate." Lily suddenly stood up on her chair, making both adults focus on her. "I have an idea," she announced with the confidence that only children possess. "What if Grimmick came to work with the good guys instead of being a bad guy? He knows lots about catching bad people, and he's really sorry for the mean things he did. Couldn't he help protect other kids instead of hurting them? The suggestion hung in the air like a challenge to everything both species understood about justice and redemption. Throughout the human fleet, conversations erupted as people debated whether such a thing was possible. Could a predator truly become a protector? Could someone who had caused so much pain find a path to healing both himself and others? Grimmick stared at the small human, who had just offered him something he had never dared hope for. Not just forgiveness, but purpose. A chance to transform his skills from instruments of harm into tools for protection. The possibility seemed too good to be true, yet her innocent faith made it feel achievable. The docking tube sealed with a soft hiss as Alex Reed's ship connected to Grimmack's battered vessel. Throughout the massive human fleet surrounding New Terra Station, thousands of beings held their breath. Weapon systems remained powered, but not targeted, ready for anything yet hoping for the best possible outcome. Alex moved through the airlock alone, as agreed. His steps echoed in the small corridor leading to Grimmack's main cabin, each footfall measured and controlled. Behind him, he could hear the quiet hum of his ship's systems and the distant chatter of fleet communications. Ahead lay an encounter that would determine whether this crisis ended in bloodshed or something unprecedented in galactic history. The cabin door opened to reveal a scene that stopped Alex in his tracks. Grimmack, the feared Saurian bounty hunter whose reputation had spread terror across 3 sectors, knelt on the floor with his massive head bowed in submission. Beside him sat Lily, her small hand resting on the alien's scaled arm in a gesture of comfort and protection. "Daddy," Lily said, looking up with bright eyes that showed no trace of fear or trauma. She slipped down from her chair and ran to him. Her arms outstretched. Alex caught his daughter and held her tight, his hands checking for any sign of injury while his eyes never left the kneeling Saurian. Lily felt whole and healthy in his arms, her familiar scent and warmth reassuring him that she was truly safe. Only when he was certain she was unharmed did he allow himself to focus fully on Grimmack. "She says you took care of her," Alex said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken threats. "I tried," Grimmack replied without lifting his head. "Though she took better care of me than I deserved. Your daughter has shown me what I lost when I chose the path of violence. She has reminded me that there is more to existence than survival and profit." Lily wiggled in her father's arms until he set her down, then walked back to stand beside Grimmack. The contrast was striking, the tiny human child next to the massive reptilian warrior. Yet there was something right about the image that Alex couldn't quite define. "Grimmack was telling me about his home planet," Lily explained to her father. "It sounds really lonely there. Nobody hugs or tells stories or has birthday parties. Can you imagine never having a birthday party, Dad? I told him about mine last year with the chocolate cake and the surprise presents, and he started crying because he'd never experienced anything like that." Alex studied the alien who had terrorized his family, looking for signs of deception or manipulation. What he saw instead was genuine remorse and something that looked like hope struggling to survive in eyes that had seen too much darkness. "You have caused me great pain today," Alex said to Grimmack. "Taking my child, threatening her safety, forcing me to gather this fleet and prepare for war. Give me one reason why I shouldn't let my friends out there turn your ship into scrap metal." "I cannot," Grimmack replied simply. "I deserve whatever fate you choose for me. But before you decide, I want you to know that your daughter has changed something fundamental in my understanding of the universe. She has shown me what I could become, rather than what I have been." Admiral Chen's voice crackled through Alex's communication device. "Reed, we have incoming diplomatic vessels from 5 major powers. The Galactic Council is requesting permission to mediate. The situation has attracted attention from across known space." "Tell them to wait," Alex replied without taking his eyes off Grimmack. "This is between us." Lily tugged on her father's sleeve. "Dad, I have an idea. What if instead of punishing Grimmack for the bad things he did, we helped him do good things instead? He knows how to track down really dangerous criminals, and he's super strong and brave." Couldn't he use those skills to protect other kids who might be in danger? The suggestion hung in the air between them. Alex had spent years as a smuggler, living on the margins of civilized space, and he knew better than most that the galaxy was full of genuine monsters who preyed on the innocent. Pirates who sold children into slavery, traffickers who destroyed entire families, warlords who used terror as a weapon against civilian populations. You're suggesting I trust someone who kidnapped you to protect other children? Alex asked his daughter. I'm suggesting you trust someone who learned something important today, Lily replied with the wisdom that sometimes emerges from innocence. Grimmack didn't hurt me because he's not really a bad person. He just forgot how to be good. Sometimes people need help remembering. Grimmack finally lifted his head to look directly at Alex. I have spent 15 years as a hunter of sentient beings. I know how they think, where they hide, what weaknesses to exploit. These skills made me wealthy but cost me my soul. If your daughter is right, if redemption is possible, then perhaps those same skills could serve a better purpose. Alex felt the weight of decision pressing down on him. Around the station, nearly 1,000 ships waited for his choice. The precedent set here would ripple across the galaxy, potentially changing how conflicts were resolved between species. But more than that, his daughter was watching, learning about justice and mercy from how he handled this moment. There's a place called Haven Station on the Outer Rim, Alex said slowly. It's run by a woman named Director Torres, who coordinates rescue operations for trafficking victims. The work is dangerous. The pay is terrible, and most people don't last 6 months, but they save lives every day. Hope flickered in Grimmack's reptilian eyes. You would recommend me for such work? I would give you the chance to prove that my daughter's faith in you isn't misplaced, Alex replied. But understand this. You'll be monitored constantly. One wrong move, one hint that you've reverted to your old ways, and every human in the galaxy will know about it. My daughter may believe in second chances, but I believe in consequences. Grimmack rose slowly to his full height, towering over both humans, but somehow seeming smaller than when he had knelt. I accept these terms. I pledge my life to protecting those who cannot protect themselves, especially the young. Let my actions prove worthy of the mercy you have shown. Lily clapped her hands together, delighted by the turn of events. This is so much better than fighting. Now Grimmack can help lots of kids instead of scaring them. And maybe he'll make some friends at his new job too. Alex activated his fleet communication channel, knowing that his next words would be broadcast across human space and beyond. This is Alex Reed to all vessels. The situation has been resolved peacefully. My daughter is safe and unharmed. The individual responsible has expressed genuine remorse and will be given an opportunity to make amends through service to others. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Cheers erupted from ships throughout the fleet, not just relief. That violence had been avoided, but genuine celebration that mercy had triumphed over vengeance. Dozens of captains requested permission to escort Grimmack to Haven Station, wanting to witness this unprecedented transformation firsthand. Director Torres's response came within the hour. Reed, if you're vouching for this Saurian, I'll give him a chance. We've got a missing children case on Frontier 7 that's been cold for weeks. Could use someone with serious tracking skills, but if he steps out of line even once, he's gone. Grimmack spent the next hour transferring ownership of his ship and weapons to Alex as a gesture of good faith. Everything he had accumulated through years of bounty hunting, he surrendered willingly. When the transfer was complete, he owned nothing but the clothes on his back and a datapad containing his first rescue assignment. I have a question, Grimmack said as preparations for his departure continued. Your daughter showed me kindness when she had every reason to fear me. Your species mobilized an entire fleet to protect one child. This level of compassion seems impossible, yet I have witnessed it. How do humans maintain such bonds without being destroyed by those who would exploit them? Alex smiled, the first genuine smile he had worn since discovering Lily was missing. Because for every person who might try to hurt us, there are 100 who will stand up to protect us. The galaxy is full of good people, Grimek. You just have to give them a chance to show it. 3 months later, news reached Alex that Grimek had successfully rescued 12 children from a trafficking ring on Frontier 7. The operation had been flawless, with no casualties except among the criminals themselves. Director Torres's report described the Saurian as relentless in pursuit of those who harmed innocents, but gentle as a lamb when dealing with rescued victims. Lily received a personal message from Grimek, thanking her for teaching him that strength could be used to heal rather than harm. He included pictures of the children he had saved, all of them smiling and safe. At the bottom of the message was a simple promise. I will never forget the lesson you taught me, little friend. Every child I save is a gift I give back to the universe to honor your kindness. The incident at New Terra Station became legend throughout the galaxy. Diplomats studied it as an example of how mercy could achieve what force could not. Military academies taught it as a lesson in the power of restraint. But perhaps most importantly, parents across dozens of species began telling their children the story of a little human girl who saw good in a monster and changed him into a guardian. The human fleet dispersed slowly, crews returning to their regular lives but carrying with them the knowledge that when called upon, they could mobilize the largest rescue force in galactic history within hours. The message was clear to anyone who might threaten human children. They were not just protected by laws or governments, but by the collective love of an entire species that would cross the galaxy to keep them safe. And somewhere on the outer rim, a former predator continued his work of protecting the innocent, guided by the memory of a child's forgiveness and the chance for redemption that humanity had offered him. Grimek had learned the greatest lesson of all, that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is choose to be gentle. And that true strength comes not from the ability to harm others, but from the courage to help them heal.